Hello, welcome back to the NOTCAST number 353. This is my 1,000th subscriber special, if that makes any sense. I have 1,000 subscribers now, which is great news. Thank you for those of you who watch these. For those of you who subscribe but don't watch these, you've now made it so that I can monetize the channel if I want to be a capitalistic greedhead. It is the Sunday, I think the 14th of January, 2024. I have to remember it's not 2023. And I've been out of action for a few days. I'm on a veritable fun-sized bag of medications for a hereditary condition. Not very exciting, not life-threatening. Just means I need to take some not fun drugs. Had to change that recently. Completely screwed up my sleep. One of the side effects on it says it's either insomnia or sleeplessness. I was hoping if you get insomnia, then the sedative sleepy part of it would cancel each other out and I just sleep normally. Oh no, I only got one of them. I got the insomnia bit. So I think it was Monday night. I think I slept, I got to sleep about 4 o'clock and woke up at about 5. Wednesday, got maybe 4 hours sleep. And then Wednesday night into Thursday, got up at 4:30 in the morning and didn't get back to sleep and was working by 5:30 because I figured I'm not going to get a chance. So I've been worn out, and that is not conducive to good YouTubing, unless of course you want to watch a man go slowly insane. As I've said, with sleep I can do anything, and without sleep I can't do anything. And I'm one of these people that really likes about 8 hours a night. Hopefully an extra 16 in the day, but 8 hours a night. And anything less than that, I start to get a little bit grotty. And even the affections of my cats, both real and fluffy, are not going to be able to help me in those circumstances. So today, because I have 1,000 subscribers and my brain can't focus too much on what I'm going to be talking about in terms of going through an album and super hyper focusing on that, I'm going to do my random record Russian roulette number 2. I have asked the 14-year-old to pick out some things and for me to pick them out at random. I have no idea what these are actually. Maybe I should give them a black bag as opposed to I've asked him to pick out a book, a CD, a DVD, a 7-inch single, an LP, and see where we go. So this is his selection of the 7 inches. It is Jesus Jones's new single, Still Smiling, Stroke Blue Skies. This is the UK 7-inch edition of this. I bought this very recently, less than a month ago. Saw them at the 100 Club in London. And there are 2 versions of this release. There is the Blue Skies Are Blue vinyl, and then there is the red vinyl. Since I'm not the kind of person that buys every single shade of magenta on coloured vinyl, I just went for the blue because I think blue is a lovely colour. It's one of my favourite colours. And this is their single. So first off, graphic design by Mammoth Creative Works. Nice to see you, Marcus, if you're watching this. If not, I don't blame you. The pub and the dog are far more exciting. And this is the most recent studio release from Jesus Jones, who had a #1 hit single in that They're America. And some people go, well, how come they're still going? And well, the simple answer is if making music and playing music is part of who you are and who you enjoy, then you should never stop doing it if you can continue to do it. And I was reminded of that quote from Kurt Vonnegut, the one where he said, it doesn't matter necessarily if you're good at something. What matters is you are doing it. Or the essay from Neil Gaiman called George R.R. Martin is Not Your Bitch, where he was talking about, well, you know, somebody wanted to take some time off, who was a writer, to paint their house. And so he said, well, you could pay somebody to paint your house. And he went, yeah, I could, but I want to do it. And the important thing is not necessarily if you're very good at something. What matters is that you enjoy it and you like doing it. The gatekeeping around saying you have to reach a certain level of competence before you can be classified as something is nonsense. Now, that sounds a bit bitchy. It isn't. It absolutely isn't. It's just I'm well aware that Jesus Jones aren't a popular enough band to be headlining stadiums, and I live in that real world. And so if it's something that they enjoy doing and that they can make happen and other people like it, then there's no reason for it not to happen, kind of squeezed in around the sides of the rest of one's lives, which is often how making music or art is. I realised at quite a young age I had to be a lot more realistic about certain things. I couldn't afford, because of the financial and economic situation I was in, to concentrate on the art that I liked making. I had to also have, as they so generically call it these days, a side hustle, which was a day job. In fact, during the course of my professional music career, which ended about 20 years ago, I didn't make very much money. And during the course of my writing career, I didn't make very much money either. I still do both. I still like both. They're still part of me, but I don't do it for anybody but me, which is that cliche. It says we only do it for ourselves. If anybody else likes it, that's a bonus. It's also like saying, well, there's always been a rock element to our dance music. But it is a thing where actually you should make art because it's a valid and meaningful expression of who you are and what you like. And now you're going to be bitchy. You could be really bitchy and say Jesus Jones aren't art. But I'm like, really? It's a creative endeavour. It's successful in that respect. And it doesn't matter whether anybody else likes it. You know, does anyone look at, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the name of, I don't know who's hip and popular anymore. I used to know what was hip, and then they changed what it was, and now what it is weird and scary, and it will happen to you. But I don't listen to stuff and go, that's popular. I just go, either it's good or it's not good. I like the stuff I like. I hope it's popular, and I want it to be popular, so there's more of it. But ultimately, that's not why I like it. Jesus Jones' single then, Still Smiling, backed with Blue Skies. This is the 7-inch version. I should open it up, actually, because this is quite a nice little package. Oh, I love a nice little package. Ooh-ah. And it's a fold-out 7-inch sleeve, so it's not a full kind of 7-inch with 2 colours on there. One blue, one red, to go with both the types of, or both the versions of vinyl. You've got the double A-side single. Let's have a look at this, because I love a bit of coloured vinyl. Here I was telling you I didn't buy every shade of magenta. So Still Smiling and Blue Skies, which I do own on another format, and then there's a lyric sheet for Here Come Blue Skies. And in fact, because I didn't mention this, I will have to go backwards a little bit and get to you a rare little beastie, the first USB single in my collection. This is the USB single that was due to be sold on the now cancelled and postponed Canadian and American tour of 2023. So this is a memory stick with about 4 or 5 gigs of material on. It features a 30 years of Liquidizer documentary, some random live footage, audio from a show in 2013 at the London Bull and Gate that I went to, some recording footage from the single, and it all comes out in a very, very unusual little package. So let's open this up. I didn't expect I was going to be doing this. I've only been able to open this once. I think you kind of rotate it this way. You can see how much difficulty I had getting into it. You kind of push it out at the back, and then you lift it out. There's your USB. You stick it into your laptop or your computer, and you have lots of fun with all of the stuff that's on there. This is a lovely little format. I'm glad there aren't too many of them, because it really takes away from the tangible owning a popular mass-produced work of art element on it. But there you are. So, book. I know what this is going to be, because its top has been poking out. This is the novelisation of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by the Quentin Tarantino, which I think was written mostly during lockdown. And this is published in 2021. And I listened to a really interesting interview with Jeff Goldsmith with Quentin Tarantino about novelizations. Now, movie novelizations were a really big deal in the late 70s, 80s, early 90s. I recently found on a site called World of Books the ability to buy lots of movie novelizations at a 4 for £10 sale, and I spent a lot of money on there. So I have lots of movie novelizations from my childhood. In the days before sell-through VHS became popular, and the first sell-through VHS was Raiders of the Lost Ark at £10 in 1982, when if you wanted to own Star Wars, you had to pay £95 for a video cassette. The idea being is that it was so prohibitively expensive, is that you just rent it every time you wanted to see it. And the film industry has shifted back to that model with streaming, where you don't own anything, you rent it, or you rent access to it to watch however you like. And it's a very interesting model. I think the streaming model is broken. I think the rental VHS model was hardly amazing. and the shift over to DVDs and Blu-rays, physical media, they will prize that DVD player out of my dead cold hands, like the National DVD Player Association. I am Charlton Heston, and the novelizations were a way in which you could access and revisit films without having to go to the cinema, or if they weren't on at the cinema anymore. Or, for example, a film like Star Wars, even if you really wanted to see it, you couldn't see it just like that. You had to wait until it was on the cinema again, maybe once every couple of years. Or you had to wait until it was on television and then record it off television and hope that you were able to get all the advert breaks correct when ITV broadcast it. Really interesting. So film novelizations and soundtracks were my gateway into both music and film. And so film novelizations, I am obsessed with them. I am reading them constantly at the moment, working out the differences in the plots and the character motivations, the character names and the events. Most film novelizations are based upon a early draft, a first draft or of the film, before the film is shaped in the edit. The cliche about films is that they are made 3 times, once in the script, once on the stage, when it's being shot, and once in the edit, and the final edit is the only version that really counts. So the novelization is based upon generally a primitive earlier version of a film. I've been reading the novelization of Michael Mann's The Keep, a pretty obscure 1983 Germanic Gothic horror movie, and the novelization makes abundantly clear some of the things that don't make sense in the film, such as the motivations behind certain characters, the backstories for certain characters, the reasons why people do things. Motivation is really, really important. Even if you're Alfred Hitchcock and you go, well, what's my motivation, Alfred? And it's like, you're being paid, asshole. That's one motivation. Another motivation is, why are you doing this? If you're doing it for that instead of that, that's the difference between murder and manslaughter, for example. That's the difference between premeditated and accidental. You know, the end result might be exactly the same, but the meaning behind it is important. Novelizations, especially 80s novelizations, I'm particularly thinking, I've got a lot of books by Alan Dean Foster, although less than a quarter of his books were novelizations. He did write 37 movie novelizations. Expand and contract the stories. They solve plot holes that you didn't realise were there. I think there's a character in The Thing who I think just goes missing and nobody ever mentions it. Or maybe just disappears and dies in a completely different way in the book, and you kind of read the book and you go, ooh, that's interesting. That would have been really good to see. For example, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the rare case of the movie director actually writing the novelization and not subbing it out to Alan Dean Foster and pretending that it was written by himself. I'm looking at you, George and Stephen. I can see what you're doing. And the novelisation of this was written after the film had come out, so it expands upon the stories that are in the film. It gives you extra detail. It's generally historically accurate, apart from the existence of Rick Dalton and his stuntman, and the knowledge in it, because it's written the year that the guy that writes the book is set in is about 1999. So anything that happens after 1999, i.e. this millennia, isn't known about in this book. This book is written from the perspective of somebody writing about a historically accurate version of it. So there are some statements that are in here that talk about, for example, certain specific rumours, or for example, if there's let's say the movie star called Guy Guysville, right? So Guy Guysville, who doesn't exist, if he's in this, instead of it being Guy Guysville was wonderful, if the rumours going around Hollywood, and to this day are, especially on Reddit, where it's like, what's the worst celebrity encounter you've had? And somebody goes, I met Guy Guyville and he pissed on my shoes, for example. In this book, that would be referenced, but there's an alternate version of history that broadly replicates what's happening in our real world, but at the same point, absolutely isn't. This is a dying breed, the movie novelisation. They're really fascinating. I wish that there were more of them. I would buy more of them. I think they're if you're a cinephile, like I am, these are absolutely essential things to read and understand. Is you can then get a different perspective upon the film that you know and love, fill in some of the dots, and makes the process richer. Right, let's go for item 3 in the bag of dreams. What is it? CD. Ooh, okay. So this is a CD single by the Cranes, or more correctly Cranes, a band from Portsmouth in England. They have recently reformed. I didn't get a chance to see them when they played recently, because when they played recently it was the same night as a Peter Hook gig, which I've already bought tickets for. I'm planning on seeing them next year. Well, not next year, because this year is 2024. So I'm planning on seeing them later this year, which will be the first time I've seen them in a very long time indeed, something like 30 years. They supported The Cure on the 1992 Wish Tour and some other shows. They specialise in a particularly kind of scary, witchy version of rock. Now that sounds particularly weird when you frame it like that. Really reminds me of Catherine Joseph, who's very, very good, and parts of the Anchoress as well. So music that sounds like it's coming from a less conventional angle. So sometimes when you hear vocalists and you kind of go, yeah, that's great, but you're not very interesting. Alison Shaw, who I think is the vocalist for the Cranes, has a bizarre tone and register. And I don't mean bizarre in a bad way, it's just it's very unusual. It's not particularly popular. It sounds like a child's ghost is singing from and it is because it's got this kind of guttural kind of tone to it that sounds a little bit unearthly, a little bit weird. The lyrics aren't particularly straightforward, the melodies aren't particularly obvious, but it creates this dark maelstrom of sound, which also musically has influences of The Cure and Cocteau Twins and other bands, and also influential upon bands like, to an extent, Slow Dive and people like that. So I love Cranes. I haven't seen them for a long time. I'm really glad they've reformed. I've missed them, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them. This single is Jewel, which I think there's a Robert Smith remix on a 7-inch single. I could be wrong. Actually, no. The 12-inch remix by Robert Smith and Brian Chuck New is on this CD, which is excellent. And I've got the 3 7-inches downstairs. I bought the 3 7-inches of this single for 49p each from Hob Days in Selly Oak in Birmingham in 1993 when it came out. And it's a really good track, actually. I'm going to post a link to that in the comments. So if you're a fan of The Cure and you haven't heard the Cranes, sorry, not the Cranes, this is the one to listen to. And if you have, then you know how good they are. They're not for everybody. So if you like them, great. If you don't, sorry, nothing's perfect. So let's go for Blu-ray. So he's picked out Kick-Ass, which I haven't seen for a number of years. I've actually been thinking I should watch this again. I try to rewatch every film that I like about every 6 or 7 years. Firstly, to see how it's aged, to see how I've aged, and how my relationship to that song or that film has changed over time. There's a couple of things that I've seen recently. I've rewatched a couple of early Kevin Smith things, and I've kind of gone, yeah, 25-year-old me would have liked that. Twice the age of 25-year-old me didn't like that. And that's an interesting place to be in terms of your relationship to art, because art or film has to work. It's not permanent. It's not necessarily, I'm going to like this forever. It's more a case of, at the time that this came into my life, it resonated with me. It made a connection with me. I saw something of myself in it, and vice versa. And you then kind of go, right, so the person who I am and the things that I enjoy. I mean, I must admit, I absolutely love some films that I know are absolutely awful. You know, I'm a huge fan of The Meg 2, which I think is fantastic. I'm a real fan of Sharktopus. I think the Sharknado films are really good, for example. There are films about things that aren't sharks that I do enjoy, that I know are pretty much artistically unjustifiable, that are pretty schlocky and rubbish. Moonraker, for example, my favourite James Bond film. Kick-Ass comes into a genre of modern day kind of superhero films, and there's a couple of others which it really reminds me of. It really reminds me of James Gunn's Super. I think it's Super. Which is again a film about an avenging local person who's fed up, who's mad as hell and isn't going to take it anymore, to quote Network, takes justice into his own hands and tries to reduce the crime in his local town. As is described on the back of the box, the No Power Vigilante Kick-Ass is a fun action film, but it's perhaps not quite as dark as Super, because this is a 15 and Super is an 18. I prefer Super because it's more, I think realistic is probably not the word to use, but it's more more honest about the implications of the behaviour that have happened. You know, if you fall off a building, you are going to break every bone in your body and spend the rest of your life in traction, for example. Kick-Ass is, I think, a little more flippant than that, and this is I think a good action movie that is both a homage and a mockery of the superhero movies which have come to dominate modern cinema over the past 15 years since Iron Man was released. Really good film, possibly not aged vastly well. So the last thing that's in here, and I know what this is because I've seen it poking out of the top, but you don't, is this one here. So it is Metallica's Hero of the Day 12-inch, and this is the second single that was released from the Load album in 1996. The UK was still getting fancy single releases. So, for example, this one features Hero of the Day, the LP version, a demo of it called Mouldy. It's called Mouldy because the structure of the demo reminded them of Husker Du, Sugar, and the work by Bob Mould, and recorded at Lars and James's basement, December 10th, 1994. And then there's a cover version of Motorhead's Overkill on the B-side, which was recorded during rehearsals for Lemmy's 50th birthday party at the Whiskey A Go-Go in December 1995. Oh, I miss Motorhead. And there's also an outer B-sides mix of Hero of the Day, which was remixed by, and let me quickly check, looks like Skinny Puppy, actually. And it's not great. It's okay, it's not great. This is a lovely textured 12-inch. If I show you that, you can see that the cover art, the Rosarch inkblot test that makes out the cover of Hero of the Day, is based, which probably is reminiscent a little bit of Rosarch from Watchmen, actually, I think, when I think about it. It is an abstract piece, and then also on the back we have the Metallica's Ninja Stars logo, which again, I don't know if you can see, is embossed there on the cover. Hero of the Day is one of my favourite Metallica singles that I had never seen played live. There's a few of those, but that's probably the main one actually that I've not seen played live at least once during the course of my life. But I've only seen Metallica 6 times, whereas I know that there are some people that have seen Metallica 6 times in a week. So, you know, whatever floats your boat. Your mileage may vary. A lot of people think that Load by Metallica is a bad period for the band, and it's not particularly good as either an album or a single or anything. I quite like Load. I like the idea that Metallica were saying, even though that they were called Metallica, they were like, we're going to do what feels right for us, not what necessarily feels right for anybody else, but what feels right for us as a band, and the music that we make. If we want to go in this direction, that's exactly what we're going to do, and that is the very definition of complete artistic integrity, is the ability to do whatever you like within reason, pretty much whenever you want to do it. So that is my random record Russian roulette for number 352, on the grounds that I'm still on the way up from having being king of no sleep, basically, is the problem over the past few days, and I am hoping to be raring and fit and back to go pretty soon, picking up some things. So if you've got a question for me or something that you'd like to hear me talk about or something, please do mention it. If there is a band or an artist or something, I know some of you have mentioned Echo and the Bunnymen. I don't think I like them enough to be able to really do them justice when I talk about them, for example, but that's an option there. But if there's a band or an artist or something, or a question, do put it in the comments box. In the meantime, I'm sure you've all been on bated breath waiting for this. Sorry, it's not about a band or an album or anything. It is just another random selection of my stuff. Now, surprisingly, only one of these has appeared in a previous episode, and that is Metallica's Hero of the Day. And maybe not even on 12-inch, because I don't remember off the top of my head whether it has or whether it hasn't. So, take care of yourselves and each other. Stay beautiful. If you are the 1,000th subscriber, thank you. You've made me, well, I haven't made any money out of this yet. And if you're watching or keeping watching, then thanks for keeping watching. And I will hopefully see you soon. So take care of yourselves and each other. Stay beautiful. And ciao. Bye. Oh yeah, I've got to think about my endings. My endings are like Lord of the Rings. I haven't really got it worked out. So I'm going to take the hobbits to Isengard and go. Bye.